Hey guys, GHAZZY TV here. We're currently live. We're going to go through the development manifesto for the first time as we are streaming. So I'll just upload this to the YouTube channel for you YouTube boys out there. So game balance Path of Exile manifesto. This is what we're going to go through. It's not that far, not long. All right, every expansion provides an opportunity for us to reassess the current meta. Improve game mechanics that are currently weak and reduce the power of those that are excessively strong. Okay. You'll see more in detail in patch notes tomorrow, but in the meantime, our team has outlined some of the changes you'll be reading about and the goals we've had in mind while making these decisions. Game balance in Path of Exile Harvest. We're putting much of our balance focus on brands. Sure. Warcry and two-handed weapons. As a result of Delirium going core, we're also taking the opportunity to balance cluster tools and their place within the game. We've worked to improve two-handed weapons with big slow hits by improving these investments options across the board. We've also lowered the output to some of the most excessively powerful builds from Delirium, like those that utilize the purposeful Harbinger, notable passives, and the Archmage Stormbrand builds. Simultaneously, we've also introduced many new options and playstyle for people to gain new levels of power. But we've kind of agreed that they didn't just balance brands. They kind of took it and then swallowed it and then shat it out and they eat their feces and then did that process 6 or 7 times before they started kicking that, whatever's left on the ground, and then they called it balanced. It might be good. We'll see. There's some fun things with the brands, so with the Arcanist brand that you can actually utilize as a utility tool, but the identity of brands feels kind of scuffed over now. Two-handed weapons and slow attacks. Two-handed melee weapons focus on having great risk for great reward. But over time, their power has dropped relative to one-handed weapons. We intend to bring this power back while still keeping the risk. They're slower on average than one-handed weapons without the free mechanics that come with shields or its dual wielding, but now have more defensive advantage available to them. Slow, heavy hits now deal enough damage to stun even the toughest bosses, without as much investment in stun mechanics. New sources of area effect and powerful inherent damage on skills and supports free up passive points for life defense if you choose to, including new options for defensive Warcry effect and new armor keystones. All high-level two-handed melee weapons have been rebalanced, pushing greater disparity between weapon types. The goal is that every high-level two-handed weapon has a role and is an ideal base type for someone. For most two-handed weapon types, each weapon has its own implicit mod focusing on a specific mechanic associated with its weapon type. There have been new additions to the passive skill tree providing power and utility, especially for melee characters like the Tribal Fury notable, that was once only available from Blight Anointments. Leech passives... Wait, what? What? Okay. Leech passives gives much more total recovery per second for life leech than before, so reaching maximum leech is much easier for slow attacks and two-handed attacks with some accessible investment. Many skills intend to work well with two-handed weapons have been reviewed. Sunder, Static Strike, Tectonic Slam were changed significantly, while others had numerical changes. Some slow attacks with added damage have had it removed, and the damage multiplier improved. How's that going to go when you're leveling? As flat added damage inherently favors builds with high attack speed. Well, I understand that, but leveling with it will actually suffer from such a change. Ground Slam, Earthquake, Ice Crash, Vol, Ground Slam, all have had their added physical damage, added cold damage removed in exchange for improving the damage multiplier. Many of the new Warcry and the new Fist of War support Slam skill greatly benefit slower attacks, synergizing very well with the two-handed weapons. There are now many powerful options to invest in for slow attacks, rather than the handful of mechanics that existed previously. Herald Purity has been changed from adding physical damage to granting more physical... Okay, 12% more physical damage at jump level 20. This was to provide an equal benefit to weapon attacks regardless of their speed. Okay. Shockwave support now has multiple cooldown charges, as the new Fist of War support doesn't work with triggered Shockwave. Shockwave support is best suited for slow, non-slam attacks. Okay. I mean, this feels very, very weird. I mean, with this change, and the Herald Purity change... You can't really use face breakers, at least not efficiently. Herald of Purity, yeah, I guess. Shockwave, I don't really care about it, but I mean, removing that added flat damage, I'm not so sure. You just need to get added flat elsewhere if you're going to use Facebreaker, pretty much. I'm not saying that they're ripped, but for the sake of leveling with it, it's just going to be when it comes to slams. Yeah, absolutely. Dual wield, we're talking specifically about slams. Obviously, when people leveling, they kind of want to go for meta stuff like Cyclone and shit like that. In that case, if they tweak their character out. Dual wield, the physical damage multiplier when dual wielding has been removed. This was originally added as a fix from half a decade ago to improve the damage of dual wielding relative to the higher damage of two-handed weapons and the overwhelming defensive power of shields at the time. This allows two-handed weapons to remain the king of damage, while dual wielding is the king of speed with some defensive benefits. Okay. I mean, didn't we have a league that they said was going to be a melee league, and then, you know, it wasn't? The closest to a melee league we've had was probably Legion, and even then, Cyclone was not the best choice for 5-ways. The best choice was Tornado Shot with the abusive approach of the mechanic with the Headhunter, which was better than Cyclone, but a lot of streamers played Cyclone, so a lot of people did that. Stark for Machines, thanks so much for bitty titties, bro. How you doing, man? So yeah, Melee League never happened. So is this going to be the Melee League? I doubt it. Maybe it's going to be the Slam League, I guess. Brands, the design of brands make them very powerful for clearing out areas with a very passive playstyle, as well as dealing damage to bosses with very little time spent standing still. This often meant the brand characters weren't engaging with many challenging mechanics, instead running around waiting for enemies to die. So dot builds like Vortex, dot builds like CA, dot builds like ED, Contagion, Bane are not doing that. We've known for some time that parts of these mechanics need to change to tone down these advantages before we could introduce new brand skills, and have endeavored to make these changes without heavily impacting the core identity of sorry. Have endeavored to make these changes without heavily impacting the core identity. Moving on. Brands now drop at their original or recalled location with the enemy that they were attached to is slain. I don't like this change. This prevents them from chaining repeatedly out of the player's control, killing monsters that haven't had a chance to meet the player yet. Okay. Brand recall no longer refreshes the duration of brands. I don't mind that. I think that's fine. We very much appreciate the utility of brand recall, but it has played a significant part in making brand skill feel very passive. We want to move in the direction of players having to recast their brands more often, so it's basically a self-cast build. No, that's not what it said. Sorry. With the option to invest in brand duration to reduce how often one must recast brands, to avoid people, you know, not self-casting. I don't even know. It feels like it's just going to be a scuffed self-casting version. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how with the exact numerical details in the patch notes later. Brand Recall has a longer cooldown and a lower value cooldown recovery per level. We've added Brand Recall cooldown recovery to a number of places on the passive tree to give you avenues for investing in this rather than receiving the full bonus just for leveling gem. So now we have to invest into Brand Recall cooldown recovery. Oh my god. We lowered the detached duration of brands to bring them in line with mines. It's not a mine though. It's not a trap. It's a brand. It's a different identity. Well, it's before 3.11 it had a different identity, which also had their detached duration lowered when last reviewed. This is simply because the duration was unreasonably long, especially with the new and plentiful brand duration passes. Okay. Because of all these changes, we've been able to slightly improve the power of Storm Brand, greatly improve Armageddon Brand, improve the utility and power granted by brand passives, add a new brand cluster, and of course introduce the new brands, including the Arcanist brand that lets you trigger many different spells using brands. The Hero for Brand node also changed, mentioned below. I like the Arcanist brand though, but it feels like it's just going to be another way of playing like a Spellslinger or Cast and Crit version, or Castle Channeling. It's just connecting it to a brand now. And what I like about it is the utility options provided by it. I mean, I am still, even if we haven't read through this or seen the patch notes yet, I still think that utilizing either Arcanist brand or other methods of generating corpses with the new nodes we've seen earlier from like corpse improvements and whatnot. Not sure how they're going to treat VD. We haven't got that far yet. But imagine a proliferation detonate dead build with ignition being the main focus, where you can scale the corpses. And you have ways to generate the corpses consistently You can even have a self-cast approach in one link, and you can have another link being in your trigger weapon, and then you can have an Arcanist brand, and suddenly you're going to be able to generate corpses on a consistent basis, and you have the possibility to do a shitload of damage with Detonate Dead. We already know that DD is an insane amount of damage, and now we're going to be able to get that very easily sorted. So I think I'm still rooting for that to be a very strong approach. Moving on, Warcries have changed significantly. Using a Warcry is now far more powerful than before, but still has a cooldown. But comes also with a longer use time and a longer cooldown. Exactly what I said. Cooldown is no longer shared between Warcries. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay. The goal of these changes is to have Warcries be something that has far more significant impact on combat, with the great reward of taking the risk of standing still and using an ability while surrounded. I didn't know this part, that they no longer share between Warcries. Like, I've never been a big fan of Warcries. This part is actually pretty fucking cool. Shit. Using multiple different Warcries is now possible, and a reason to heavily invest in a mechanic that you're able to take advantage in multiple ways on a single character. For those that prefer the old playstyle, we've added a keystone that lets you use the Warcry instantly at the cost of being unable to take advantage of multiple Warcries. Oh, okay. This is a keystone that's designed for characters that have heavily invested in Warcry, but rather for characters that have specifically a single Warcry they wish to take advantage of. Maybe I did read it and forgot about it. That's how much I care about Warcries. I didn't think about... Oh, we did read the keystone, actually. But this is actually pretty cool. I must have seen it. Either way, we're going to move on. Many new Warcry passive classes have been added, providing more avenues for investment in cooldown recovery, faster use time, giving powerful damage bonus when using exerted attacks, and rewarding the use of multiple Warcries. Many existing unique items with Warcry-related mobs have been changed significantly, with some giving entirely new effects, most notably the Warband shields. Now, what I really like about this whole idea with the Warcry is how abusable it's going to be with cluster jewels. Like, imagine, we don't even know the exact details of the General's Cry, where that spawns minions based on corpses and enemies. You can stack cluster jewels, so you can have consistently a baseline of like 60, 80, 90 enemies around you, being the flat base, plus any other enemies around you, magic, white, and rare, and unique. It's like, you can get such an insanely puffed up Warcry. The problem with General's Warcry, from what I've seen, is that it's only going to do, based on what we've seen, and I've been told that they're going to do one attack and then they're going to die or disappear. However, I'm assuming that there's going to be new enchantments from the lab for these things. So imagine if you can get 2, maybe 3 attacks out of these before they disappear, and cooldown recovery on that bullshit, then you'll have a General's Warcry summoning a shitload of minions that's going to do a fuckload of damage before they go away, and before they're all gone, you're going to be able to summon new ones. That would be really cool, so I'm definitely going to look into that. That's probably the only Warcry I really care about. Okay. It matters for minion builds? Depends. It depends. Stun. Changes to the power of slow attacks have resulted in it being much easier to stun bosses, simply because of how much damage you can do in a single hit relative to their health. Rather than increasing the stun threshold, bosses now become immune to stuns for a short duration after being stunned. Didn't they just promote how glorious two-handed weapons would be, because we're in a situation where, oh, you get the defensive aspect of being able to stun even harder endgame bosses now, so that's going to be your defensive layer, and then a few fucking scrolls further south in this post, they're going to be immune to it, so you lose this little defensive approach. It doesn't say recently, so how short is short? Is it 1, 2, or 3 seconds? Or is it recently, which is 4 seconds? Or is it, half an hour? Or is it, they extend once and then you're going to die anyways? It doesn't really matter. I'm not sure. Most major bosses and map bosses have stun immunity duration of 2 seconds. So we have that confirmed. Maybe I should just read before I start keep fucking ranting. This duration is no longer powerful bosses like Guardians, Shaper, and all series lasting 4 seconds. Okay. I'm just gonna read before I start ranting the entire page, because it's all right there. Anyways, a 4-second immunity, that's enough time to lose that defense. Stunning is now a great defensive advantage for slow heavy. How are they still saying it's a great defensive advantage for slow heavy hitting characters? without completely mitigating the threat of an encounter. Stun duration becomes more important as you can no longer chain together many short duration stuns. I mean, I guess it's fine for balance, but how many people actually did perma-stun builds? How many actually bother doing that? Maybe it's needed with these changes. I don't know. Just feels weird. Quinn? Yeah, but Quinn can't kill anything without having cheesing the game with like an AFK build or Immortal build or anything, so that doesn't really matter. Ascending changes, we made some changes to the Hierophant, Chieftain, and Berserker that we'll be revealing soon. These are changes to one major notable on each tree, focusing on creating powerful individual mechanics that greatly influence how you play rather than overloading ascendancies with a plethora of related stats. The Necromancer's Corpse Pact notable now has a maximum of 200% increased attack capacity for consuming corpses, as it was possible to get the value to self-scale to problematic numbers using Arcanist brand. Okay. But yeah, either way, even if it's capped on 200%, this is what I'm saying. Necromancers, Arcanist brand, DD. And with the shield, so you can shield charge. Oh man, or just dual wield for Whirling Blades to that attack speed. Holy shit, dude. It's gonna be so much fun to do a build with that, man. Keystones! We've added new keystones to the Marauder Duelist section of the tree. These allow investment in slow impale attacks, mitigating big hits with armor. And making Warcries more accessible to non-Warcry invested builds. Each of these allows you to improve some weakness that certain strength-based characters, especially 2 melee characters, could have. Many powerful keystones that were previously only available from Timeless Jewels have been moved to the passive tree, such as Glancing Blows, Agnostic, and Wind Dancer. Oh, this is so good. Oh, you wanted to look at the Impaler? With your hits, impale enemies, also impale other enemies near them, which we don't know what big that radius is. Inflicts 4 additional impales on enemies you impale, and enemies cannot be impaled for 4 seconds after you impale them. This is completely useless. Usually, the amount of Shaper DPS or serious DPS that you will need to do comfortable clearing is around 100,000. Most cases, it's lower than that, but for tier 16, 17, 18 maps, around 100,000 Shaper DPS is usually enough to clear most packs. Only time you want to do more damage than that is versus bosses or harder enemies, where this keystone would be fucking useless. However, it would be pretty cool with something like this with the new gloves, I think it was, that did explode impaled. Enemies that are impaled has a 50% chance to explode to get that little cascade explosion effect going on and chaining around thanks to impaling so many enemies without investing into splash. So I guess there are some uses to it, but to me it doesn't look very attractive. Other passive tree changes. We made a large number of changes to the passive tree with the intent of supporting recently introduced mechanics as well as providing more variety to clusters, especially those lacking an obvious power. We wanted to add support for mechanics that have had added in the past few years that as of yet do not have adequate support on the passive tree. Some of these mechanics include Rage, Unleash, Corpse Manipulation, Warcries, Heralds, and Banners. Are they going to nerf summoners at all? The Warcry clusters that affected exerted attacks are they very useful for slower attacks. The Martial Experience cluster is good for example of how total recovery per second from Life Leech has improved. Now taking a longer path through this cluster will give 220% increased total recovery per second from Life Leech, enough to cause a single hit to be able to leech up to 6.4% of maximum life per second. That's actually quite a lot. These changes were made so big hits against a boss still provides a significant life leech per second rather than having to attack rapidly to reach maximum life leech per second. I like these. We talked about this before, that the two-handed weapon changes would require to get some changes on the leech mechanics. Otherwise, they will just die because they would have too big of a gap before they reach the cap. Many passive skill clusters offer the same thing as other clusters, with the only difference between the location of the tree and the number of passive skills in the cluster. In this patch, we have endeavored to give each cluster its own identity and function. I can barely talk. Crit multiplier values have been lowered from almost every passive as well as from some items. Well, are they tired that crit is like the best endgame scaling? Critical based characters so far exceeded non-critical characters later in the game. Okay. Again, I'm going to read through before I start ranting. This will bring the two a little close together. I kind of like that. So we're not forced to do crit if we want to do high endgame scaling. We've added a new indigo oil between azure and violet oils. This has made more common oils slightly rarer without making rarer oils even rarer. Some notables will have updated oils costs as a result of changes to the passive tree. Not every indigo oil combination on amulets will yield a notable yet. There are no new blighted notable passives, and 2 existing blight notable passives are now on the passive tree. New ring and blighted map anointments have been added. Okay. Cluster jewels will remain in the game, available from the Delirium encounters. Delirium encounters will be less common, but will drop significantly more cluster jewels than before, as we still want cluster jewels to be an accessible and major part of character development, especially if you're actively trying to find them. Many cluster jewels notably were problematic when stacked multiple times. No shit. Rather than limiting notables to 1, we've instead rebalanced or significantly changed these notables, or added caps to the maximum value you can receive from a certain kind of effect. Of particular note, Purposeful Harbinger now gives aura buff skills have 8% increased effect on you for each herald affecting you, up to 40%. This means that the 5 heralds on you and 1 Purposeful Harbinger notable, you can reach full effect, or you can use 3 heralds and 2 Purposeful Harbinger notables. Okay, I think that's a fair way to balance it. Changes to Warcry have meant that all Warcry cluster jewels notables have been reworked, which also introduces some new effects. Some cluster jewel brand notables have also been rebalanced. Weightings of notables and other modifiers have been adjusted, with the most powerful notable and 2 jewel socket being much less common. Because it was very easy to hit that, okay. As crafting an exceptional cluster jewel was far too easy. The unique jewels from the Simulacrum will still be available, though will be rarer as a result of Delirium not being in every area. Okay, so they're not actually changing the drop rates. So Voices and Megalomaniacs are unchanged, while Split Personality is now limited to 2. Oh. So the Whispering Ice builds and the Dexterity builds. Okay. This jewel was the go-to jewel for any attribute stacking build, so we want to push more variation. Okay. No keystones from any Delirium unique. Is that 40% per person? No, that's not how I understood it. It's 40% across the board. No keystones from any Delirium unique jewel have been changed, though, like the Simulacrum jewels, these will be less frequent as you'll be encountering the unique bosses that drop them less frequently. These cluster jewel notables will no longer be available. Gladiatorial Combat, Deep Cuts, Tensity, Confident Combatant, No Witness. Any existing notables already on jewels will be retained. Some notables some of their effects have been removed to the passive tree, with Deep Cuts being the only exception. VMS was providing too much damage mitigation for too long with too little investment. This resulted in VMS being used on a huge proportion of characters, including those that didn't get much armor beyond a Granite Flask. We intend to keep it at as the best defensive vault skill for armor-invested characters, while bringing it closer to the power of Vault Grace. It will still last for a long duration, but now requires a greater value of armor to reach its cap and mitigate a much lower percentage of damage while active. It also gives more armor instead of a flat value of armor, multiplying your existing armor value rather than giving an effect that is less relevant to armor-invested characters. Vol Molten Shell also removes and is removed by other guard skills. Previously, it only had this effect with Molten Shell. Molten Shell itself will remain unchanged. I think that's fair as well. Cyclone. We have removed the stun immunity from Cyclone, but made no other changes to it. This immunity was originally added to prevent implementation problems when positional desyncing was common, not as a core part of the skill's design. Being able to move while dealing damage is already a powerful defensive benefit, and melee attackers are usually more resistant to stuns. This skill will still make you immune to knockback, and Vol Cyclone will still retain its stun immunity. Okay, well, I think that's fair. I mean, it's like I mentioned before, they will not gut Cyclone enough to make people not play. Cyclone will remain one of the best melee skills in the game throughout the history of PoE, in my opinion. I believe that wholeheartedly, because it's such an iconic ARPG ability. Archmage support provides 2 significant a power increase for builds when built around very heavily. We've made changes to bring it more in line with other builds, while still noting that it's going to be a huge source of power for mana-invested builds. It now provides less added lightning damage based on mana spend than it did before, down to 108% the mana cost at level 20 of the gem. We changed most items that increases mana cost. Fevered Mind has been reworked and is now limited to 1. Voidbring and Apis Rage now add a flat mana cost rather than a percentage modifier. These items provide 2 greater damage multiplier for a single unique, as their once downside had become an upside. We've added a new passive cluster on the tree to let you increase the mana cost of your skills as a new avenue of investment, though at a value much lower than what could be attained from those unique items. That's pretty fair. I mean, I don't see that problem with that, to be honest. Unique rebalance. We made many changes to unique items that were either failing to achieve their desired goals, had fallen behind other competing items, or were not deemed interesting enough for our current standards for unique items. Also, they're going to rebalance like 6,000 unique items. That's pretty nice. Awesome to hear. Our goal for each of these unique items is to make sure that there is a place for them on characters. But there is. Even some of the rebalance uniques they've shown is basically a lot of slots in your inventory that will later be translated into alchemy shards. Even if that place is while leveling, and to do this in more interesting ways where possible, many of the changes are numerical, either because the item was already significantly interesting or because it would stray too much from supporters' original intention when the item was designed. More information will be coming in the patch notes. 2 other unique weapons have been reviewed and tweaked as a result of their base types being changed. Overall, rare items should be more competitive with the most powerful unique items, and there will be a greater variety of useful unique 2-handed weapons. A few unique weapons that provided too much power, especially after the change to their base type, have had some values lowered. Starforge Disintegrator Hegemony's Era will now have lower damage per second than on live, while other items remain the same or improved. What? Is anyone still using Hegemonies? Ever? Are people actually using Hegi? Like 5 people in Delirium? Well, rip those 5 people. From me, I am sorry you 5 people had to read that. I am very sorry. God damn it, I actually like Hegi's weapon. Starforge received the most significant reduction of damage. It provided more physical damage than any other unique weapon by a huge margin, and it was designed before pure physical damage was a competitive way to build skills. It is now more in line with the damage of other unique weapons while retaining its special shock area and life modifiers. It now has a custom implicit 30% increased global physical damage, as the Infernal Sword base type now usually gives 30% increased elemental damage with attack skills. Okay, Circle of Fear, Nostalgia, Regret, Anguish, and Guilt unique rings that are affected heralds now give lower values of reservation cost reduction and lower values of buff effect. For a Herald of Purity build, like that actually focuses on the minions, the reservation cost is the only thing that's interesting. But even then, that's fine. We never needed like perfect rolls or anything to make that really, really good. And that the things that they're nerfing is not affecting that. That's nice. These rings provided too much power and were too obvious a choice for so many build. Okay. Threshold Jewels, the unique Threshold Jewel for Dual Strike, Magmore, Multi-Strike, and Fireball have been changed. They now provide effects that change either skills, built, or downside to offset the beneficial effect, each acting as a way to change how you build or play a skill, rather than must have a boost at the cost of a jewel slot. Glacial Hammer's Shattered Change Threshold Jewel will no longer drop. All of these skills have been given increased damage, area, or utility to compensate for the power lost from the Threshold Jewel. We'll continue to look at the roles of other Threshold Jewels over time, making changes when possible and appropriate. I like the idea of Threshold being in a situation where they are promoting a different way of playing the ability or skill, rather than, okay, you're playing this, you want to go with that. I actually like this. This is good. This is healthy for the game. Slower projectile support gem now grants a lower value of less projectile speed than before. This is because this single support was massively multiplying the close range damage of certain skills, and all of them are being balanced around the value from this support. It also means that we can be more generous with projectile speed granted by other sources. Multi-Strike, Magmorph, and Ball Lightning have had their damage and some other properties improved. Wait, what? As the close range damage is now affected by lower projectile speed. Wait, what? Wait, what? MSMO, whatever. Ball Lightning have had their damage and some other properties improved as their close range damage is now affected by lower projectile speed. What the fuck? Do you know how insane Ball Lightning miners are? You kidding me? Yeah, I knew it, Kaka. You're definitely going to be playing a BL miner. Holy shit. Why, though? Why? Wow. The Shikari Pantheon has had its modifiers changed to half the duration of poison on you. Wait, no. That was my way to being poison immune. And prevent you being poisoned while you have at least 5 poisons affecting you. This Pantheon power trivialized the mechanic that was a core of one of our 4 major guardians of the current endgame and prevented poison being a threatening mechanic to any character. Fine. Fine. It's a fair change, okay? See? The main improvements to the totem AI for certain skills that had special targets like Blade Blast, Corpse Skill like Detonate Dead, Voltite Dead, Cremation, and Body Swap. Hexproof now gives immunity to curses on top of preventing any curse from being applied. That means that if you gain Hexproof, you'll be immediately remove any curses on you. This was an oversight that this wasn't already the case, and will mean that stealing Hexproof from enemies will now clear all curses off you. Okay. That's an interesting way to fuck over headhunters. You self-curse yourself, but if you kill a hexproof enemy, you're fucked. I like that. You know, I actually like this. I like this, because I never liked Headhunter. This is nice. I wonder what cute dog or MP's gonna play with these days, then. Who else do we have that goes crazy with Headhunters? We got a couple of people in the community. I like that. It's not a pure nerf to it, but it's definitely like it's definitely there. MP doesn't use it as much. Now that is true. MP doesn't use it as much. He mostly just buys them all, corrupts them, and then sells them really cheaply. Oh man, I like that. It's not a pure nerf to it, because I mean you're still gonna be able to play with it, and then as soon as you get a hexproof, yeah, I'm gonna get fucked with it. MB uses it a lot as well. That's true. That's true. Conclusion. This outlines just a portion of the changes you'll see in Path of Exile Harvest. There are still subject to change prior to release, and you'll see more information in the patch notes tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing how many players wield the new power introduced in Path of Exile Harvest, and in the meantime, we'll pour out a flask for our fallen meta builds. Wait, which fallen meta build? Cyclone untouched. Some Herald stacking got some well-deserved balancing. Minions are not even mentioned in the manifesto. I mean, it's like, okay, but it's literally just Archmage and Herald. Same 3037 with Prime Sub, thanks so much, to you, appreciate it. Archmage, Brands, Herald. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just Archmage and Herald. That's the only thing that they got nerfed. Double alert sound, I gotta fix that. Either way, boys, that's it for this video. We're gonna continue with the stream, and we're gonna go through the patch notes, and later I will upload a basic craft guide on this YouTube channel for you boys to check out, where I'm gonna go through all the basic information and the tools you might need for crafting in general, which will be very easy and needed for the upcoming Harvest League. Another sub, Captain Fergus, thanks so much. We're gonna end this video with that. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and leave a comment below what you guys think about the manifesto. So till next time, stay safe, keep rocking.